Hi, welcome to the channel. Hi, welcome to the channel. We're here with a academic, fine gentleman. I've had the opportunity of, spending just a short time with him, but I'm fascinated already. So I decided I was going to drag him in here. We're here with a lecturer from Veritas University in Abuja. His name is Zariyi Yusuf. Welcome to the show, my man.
Thank you so much. It's great being here.
It's kind of hard to get hold of you, but we finally did it. Okay, so besides being an academic, what else are you?
I'm a language translator.
Okay.
I do a lot of work in English Hausa translations. I'm a consultant actually there, so I also run radio dramas for. There's a missionary organization I've been consulting with.
Fantastic.
And then I'm a humanitarian, I'd say. Of course, freelance, not that I have an NGO whatsoever, but I try as much as possible, much as it lies in my power, to identify with communities that come under attack, and I try to see if I could rally some form of support for them, relief items, just visit, comfort them, and share in their pain and all of that. Yes, so I do that too.
All right, so we're here to talk about the ongoing debate about Christian. I don't really, for the life of me, I don't even know why it's a debate, but that's what it has become. So there's an ongoing debate about whether or not there's a Christian genocide. There's a lot of naysayers and I think it's just, for me, it's just a circus, because at the end of the day, we're missing the point and, diverting energy in the wrong direction. So we're going to take a look at one of the naysayers, one of the people that says there's no Christian genocide, and then we'll get back and then we'll open discussions.
Thank you very much. Chairman Smith, Ranking Member Jacobs, distinguished members of the committee, I'm honored to share my views before this committee today. Just want to state that CSIS does not take policy positions, so the views represented in this testimony are my own and not those of my employer. In this testimony, I would like to reinforce the recommendations that I made before this committee in March. In addition, I would like to reflect on how this tenuous moment in US-Nigeria relations provide an opportunity for both countries to work together to address the critical threats of jihadist violence and insecurity in Nigeria, and to develop a more strategic partnership. The United States and Nigeria have a complicated bilateral relationship with shared interest in counterterrorism and economic development. But this relationship is often marked by periods of friction. Nigeria wields significant continental and regional influence, but grapples with violent extremism and internal security. Nigeria's leadership in West Africa is crucial, and its ability to address its governance and security challenges will impact not only its future, but the wider region. Nigeria's instability stems from a key shortcoming. Despite 64 years of independence, it has yet to establish a national identity grounded in basic freedoms and dignity. Currently, ethnicity, religion, and language, rather than nationality, define the identity of its diverse population. Understanding the violence in Nigeria requires looking beyond its apparent religious and ethnic motivations. For me, growing up in Jos Plateau State, I've witnessed the impacts of these ongoing conflicts on vibrant communities. In addition, coming from a family involved in Christian missionary work, I recognize the shared faith between Christian communities in Nigeria's Middle Belt and those in the US, rooted in the history of American missionary efforts. However, a narrow narrative that reduces Nigeria's security situation to a single story and frames it solely as the persecution of Christians oversimplifies the issue. Religious and ethnic violence is driven more by governance failures and is worsened by hate speech and conspiracy theories rather than being just a singular conflict. Nigeria is facing.
All right, so that was the congressional hearing at the US Congress that took place yesterday. And a lot was discussed about Nigeria. I was excited about it because never have I seen it get this serious. I've seen the British Parliament discuss it before. That was years back, but never on this level, at this tempo. Now, there was a Nigerian woman who, of course, among other Nigerians who was there, we just played you the video. So what do you make of what she said? It sounded to me like she was saying a lot of the right things, but at the same time, making attempts to downplay the religious aspect of what's happening.
Well, so first of all, I will tell you that Oye is a well-trained propagandist.
Mm-hmm.
This is how she began. She began not by touching on the subject, but by appealing to the emotions of the victims. First, she spoke about being from Plateau, which means she's well acquainted with it. Mm-hmm. Secondly, she mentioned that her parents were not just pastors, but were into the missionary fields. Mm. So the assumption is that this person is typical of the categories of people that suffer persecution. Mm-hmm. An example is when the Evangelical Church, winning all of the Evangelical Church of West Africa, it was formerly known, begins to tell you how it started. They would speak to you about their missionaries, how they were wasted, how they were killed, how they were, so anybody that first identifies, especially with the earliest targets of this Islamist, looks as if he has disarmed you already as a victim. So I'm not speaking as a third party, I'm speaking as someone who has first-hand information. That's the first thing she did. The other edge of it was that it appealed also to the Americans, especially the Republicans, especially those because it looks as if somebody on for the truth. And she made an example of how Christians have suffered all kinds of attacks, all kinds of persecutions, blah, 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 But then immediately she made a strong statement, which is claiming that these killings are motivated religiously is being simplistic.
Yes.
Now, if she had started by that, it would have told you, okay, this is where this fellow is heading. But after having to first lower your guards, she began by saying so. So she has reduced it now to a debate, because the idea is she may actually have a point because she knows this. Mm. And so if you realize in the whole of her noise making, she spoke about every other thing, but not the cause of the problem, not the solution to the problem. Because at every point she would say, it's multifaceted, it's multi-layered, it has different factors, we can't just narrow down. So basically she kept disputing the fact that it's a Christian genocide without telling us what exactly it is.
Yes.
So she compartmentalizes this and this and this. The whole idea is to get the people lost in some form of complexity. So they tell you Nigeria is a very complex society. Yes, Nigeria is a complex society. But my brother, the mission to annihilate Christians is not a complex issue.
Yes.
It's an issue of one group heavily armed. They jump on the next community of Christians and they wipe them out and they go back to the forest where they're hiding and nothing happens. So there's nothing complex about that. Mm-hmm. So what they do is in summary, let me put it to you this way. What she did was a case where you point at a man, possibly 40, 45, a mid-aged man, and there's a little girl that has been bloodied. Possibly he beat her up and molested her. Now that's a rapist. Mm-hmm. And possibly she's even underage. That's a pedophile as well. So someone says to you, no, calling the case a case of rape is simplistic. And then they begin to propound on how the man's wife has been away for 4 weeks, That could be a factor for him to lust after her. How the girl possibly came to his house, or maybe she lives in his house and she didn't know he was around. Then she came out with her towel, and then he now stumbled into her. That is another factor. He drinks. So, he came back home drunk. That's another. So just calling him a rapist is simplistic. So you propound on all kinds of factors. At the end of the day, you are not addressing the issue. So the thing is, it's a pattern that has proven itself for almost 2 decades. I'm talking about this recent waves of killing, this pattern of killing where the use of sophisticated arms, comes in. It has proven itself for almost 2 decades. But then you find individuals who sit down, the first thing they do is to reel out how connected they are to the victims, and then they begin to deny the reality of the victims. Somebody like Daniel Bola that will come out and tell you he's a pastor, he's a Christian. Somebody like the governor of Benue will tell you he's a reverend father, and then he's a governor. If there was any genocide against his people, he will be the loudest to speak. So that is basic. So once you begin to get people do that, people come out and say to you A, B, C, D, E, F, G, but when there's a lot of criminality in it, it's scriptural. They said, let your A be A, let your nay be nay. Anything that is outside of that nearly comes from evil. Yeah.
All right.
She was just an intellectual denier of genocide. I will give that to her. If I knew where she was, I would give her a bottle of wine. But at the end of the day, it was all lies. It was well-packaged lies. That basically is it.
Absolutely. I found it to be quite disheartening because of the way she started. Like you said, she lifts your hope. She says she has some kind of connection with the victims and goes into some kind of background story that suggests that. And then at the end of the day, she was quite very articulate and very cunning, I must say. All right, folks, that's about the size of it. It's a wrap for today, but there will be a second part of this coming up. So stick around. Make sure you like, subscribe to our channel, share, show some love, and we'll show the same love right back to you by making more videos that you'll enjoy. See you all next time.